Hey, how you doing? This is Kitch, and you are watching me play Factorio. I have done a little bit of refactoring of the design, and I think we ended up with some positive changes, and some we'll just have to test out, and others that are just going to be kind of meh, I think, the more that I think about it. But let's kind of go over things a little bit. The first thing that I did was I got this balancer and all this turnaround and stuff like that set up in a space where it falls in between these two beacons. The fluids are still outside of that, but if we could find something to do with the fluids, if we could figure out something to do with that, we can have a tileable design here that will go off these two rows of beacons with the next build going down. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, but it's possible. I think we will, but I think we would have to barrel fluids for that to work. And that's not beyond what we may want to be doing. We actually have an open lane right here for this balancer, so we could sneak some fluids in there. That wouldn't be such much. I did a lot of fluid barreling and fluid logic in the Impractical Factorio series, so it's something that I'm not a stranger to. But that's neither here nor there. We've got 5 extra spaces down here, and we'll just have to deal with that. I scattered these inputs on this balancer. I don't think it's going to do anything the more I think about it, because this is a balancer. But it makes me feel better and gives us a little bit more room to work up there with stationy sort of stuff. Let's go ahead and pull that out real quick so we can get down here quick. I added in 3 labs. All things running perfectly, which it's not going to be. We need 2.14 labs. I probably should have done 1. But with the 3 labs set up here, it's now even on this side and this side. It's spaced the same. So I think I'm going to keep it. The satellite is correct this time around. All the things are hooked up and should be ready to go. And I went through every single one of these individually and confirmed that they are all hooked up correctly and that the logic is hooked up correctly. It was quite a slog and a very, very fun way to spend the weekend, but I really enjoy this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all this set up. Down here, we have the rocket. I moved it down here in order to try to keep it between the 2 beacons. Everything's going around. We don't have the long-handed inserters anymore. We did it all with fast inserters. Not that it really matters, but there's something to be said for that. I did have to end up doing some lane switching here, so this outside, instead of coming and being the outside, is on the inside there. We could have done it another way with long-handed inserters, and that would have been just fine. Lane switching seems to work really good. And I put these little pushers here to push the stuff into lanes. I've got it on 3 of the lanes here, and I didn't do these 2 because this is going to have all its output on the outside, right? So the outside lane should be filled up with the garbage from this first row. So as that comes around, because we're switching this, it's actually going to be on the inside, and those are going to work that way. The way we have this, the bottom lane is preferred on all of these 4 belts, but on this one, it's actually the top lane with the way the inserters work. So this one is the oddball compared to the others. So if we switch out an oddball for the regular size and just move them back and forth, I don't think we're going to need that extra lane pusher. We might, but we'll just see how it goes. Let's see. I haven't done anything with the numbers. With the exception of in my constant combinator, I had the electric engine set to only 1, and that should have been 11. So I fixed that, I think. Let's just go and confirm that real quick. Yes, that was set at 1. It's now at 11. And this should all be good to go. So let's go ahead and roll the intro, and right afterwards, we'll actually start this thing up and see how Mark II goes. I also put some pushers here. Pushers. Is there a better name for that? I don't know. You guys are better at naming than me. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Turn all of these inputs on, or outputs on, if that's the way you want to look at it, and get you guys going, and that will go. Now, I hope... Did I hook these up right? Yes, they all look correct. Okay. And we're feeding into the balancer. We're still having this little backup right here, and I don't know that I'm too concerned about it. What matters is that stuff eventually goes out, nothing's getting hung up, and we do have full belts flowing out. And it's going to take a little while for this to kind of regulate, but we can do a lap here and just see how things are going. Is that stuff stopping? That stuff is stopping. Okay, that's a good sign. All right, I'm seeing circuits being made. I'm seeing wire being made. Seeing inserters being made. Got our stone going. Looking good. Walls. We've got engines being made. No red circuits because plastic probably hasn't had time to make its way around. That is okay. You're probably waiting on red circuits, and you are. You guys are making a railroad track, and you guys will be making stone furnaces as soon as we get the red circuits. Now, these guys are backing up, and I don't know that I'm a big fan of that. Okay, that one is, the other lane is actually moving. I mean, for things like coal and iron and stuff like that, it's not really going to matter if like 2 or 3 of them, since we're wanting like 1,000 of them. That's not going to make much of a difference. What I worry about is if something like a satellite, for example, gets stuck in there. And if the satellite were to get stuck in there, and it got to a place where this outside lane never was moving, that would just be a bad day all around. All right, and here's what I was talking about earlier. The outside lane here is the one that is super full. But if we follow it around and when we switch it, and these 2 lanes right here have switched, so now the outer lane, which is the one these guys are going to be sending on, is going to be open. Same thing for these guys down here. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm second guessing things. Let's see. Do we have a chest? There's one. And yeah, so they'll do the top. If you go that way, they prefer the top. If you go that way, they prefer the bottom. And that is the exact same lane. All right. There was something weird with the inserters based on what direction. It's like I don't remember what it is, but there's some little weird quirk about the way they place on belts. It always does to the right lane from the perspective of the inserter, I think, is what the general rule is. Except after C or one of those weird rules. I don't remember what the weird exception is there. Okay, so how is all this looking down here? We're making rocket fuel. You do have your stuff, so you can make stuff. You guys are waiting on blue circuits. We've got ludicrous amounts of radar. You guys have stuff. You guys have stuff, and you're making. Fantastic. And you have everything you need except for blue circuits. Oh, we're getting our science here. We've got everything but yellow in here. Fantastic. Plastic's going out. Sulfuric acid is being made. Batteries are being made. You guys are waiting on red circuits. engines, and we saw solid fuel come in the first step. How is this looking over here? Pretty good. That is condensing down. We're still getting a backup here in the middle. We're starting to get a backup up there as well. And our little lane pushers here aren't doing much. They're fighting the good fight, though. A lot of that could be done with some tuning on the numbers. I think I didn't do any tuning on the numbers. Like, for example, just look at all this ludicrous amount of copper that we have. A lot of plastic, too, but that's okay because plastic is not used by anything. I mean, that's all the plastic that we're producing. But, yeah, that wire number, we could probably reduce that, and that would reduce a lot of traffic. I do want to let it go for a while, though, just to see how things work out over time. Because it's going to take a little bit of time for everything to kind of get evened out, and we have excess copper coming through as well. And we're getting excess green circuits coming through as well, which is not optimal. You guys still waiting on reds? You are. We do have some reds I'm seeing scattered on the line, which is a good sign. And yeah, you guys are starting to produce now. Very nice. All right, well, I'm going to let this thing run for a little while. Do we have any rocket parts? We do have low-density structures and rocket fuel. All right, this is going. Let's go ahead and set to auto launch. No, we won't. I don't think that's going to be it's going to be an hour before that thing has enough stuff to run. All right, so I've been watching this for maybe like 10, 12 minutes, 13 minutes. We're at 39% on the rocket. It is getting built, so we're not deadlocked. Everything is basically as full as it can be. We're just building rocket control units, low density structures, and rocket fuel right now. Everything else is completely backed up because we have all the sciences we need. We're just waiting on the space science. I've made a couple of observations, and I'm not sure. I saw these inserters, right? These inserters, they have a stack size of 3 by default. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of a pause when they grab stuff. And what I assume they're doing, here, watch him. You see, like, kind of grabs it and just kind of sits there for a little while. I think what he's doing is waiting to see if there's any more that he can grab on the line. Yeah, do you see the pause? Here it goes again. Okay, no, he missed that one. Okay, now he's not going to do it anymore. What, are you full? All right, he's not going to grab anything else. That's fine. What I'm wondering is if we override the stack size to 1, if we can get rid of that pause. Okay, that's waiting for speed modules, so that may be around. And I don't know, maybe I'll start up the factory again and make it where it's a little bit more apparent. But it's looking like he's waiting for something else to grab, and he's not bringing stuff in. And the problem is that I think it would be better, since we're not going to have 2 blue circuits next to each other, right? That's very, very rarely going to happen. We're not going to have 2 of anything close together, with the exception of wire. So, maybe on the circuit machines we can leave that stack size, but for everything else, I think it's going to be like wide. So I think we want him to move that as fast as possible. And I'm wondering if we can get rid of that pause by setting the stack size to 1 And I think I have a pretty good feeling on what that pause was. Let's just set those that way and see if we can't, if that makes that pause go away. Because I want him to grab stuff as quick as possible, because I don't want any time for stuff to go by. Yeah, see, I don't think I saw the pause there. It's just grabbing its stuff and going. I don't know if that is a premature optimization or not, but or even an optimization at all. But something that I'm definitely interested in taking care of, if it'll help at all, get stuff building just a little bit faster. We have ludicrous amounts of copper wire. I do want to adjust that. This red circuit, I've been watching it for a very, very long time. It was a red circuit, copper, and this red science pack here. Those have been there forever. They've been there for probably at least 10 minutes. So this is a problem in that we are getting inventory packed up in there. And I'm thinking if we could get the traffic down a bit, that might help. I'm interested in perhaps adjusting some numbers. 5.5K. Let's take that down by like 4,000. Take that down by like 1,000. Let's take it down. Let's go big or go home. Let's take it down to 3,000 and see what that does, because they're right next to the machines here. So these guys should pick up the stuff really, really quick. And I'd rather have excessive greens out than I would having all that copper out there. It just seems like a big, giant waste of space. And, is there anything else that just seems crazily excessive? I mean, all I see is wire. Everywhere I look, I see wire. We might take down the copper since we took down the wire. I think a lot of the copper is involved with that. 3510A. Let's take that down to 2,500. And we'll just see if that clears out a little bit of the traffic and what that affects. Now, until we launch the rocket, we're not going to be able to see that that make a difference. Because that's another thing to keep in mind. Whenever this rocket science, space science comes out, that's going to fill, what, 1,000? Isn't that what it is? It's 1,000, right? I never can remember if it's 1,000 or 2,000. It's a stack of 2,000. It produces 1,000 space science. So that's going to put 1,000 spaces on the belt here full of that. That's going to be eaten up eventually by the science labs, but it's going to take a couple of orbits around everything before it does. Well, even though we took that down, I'm still seeing copper everywhere. Copper wire. All right, let's just run down here real quick and see if that has freed up our red circuit and science pack off of the pusher thing. It did. It did. Okay, that has freed up that line. You guys are now only hooked up on one belt, so that makes me think that it's coming together here. But that is freeing up a lot of room. This middle line here is always full. That's another observation that I made, just because, you know, it's only got one output, so it's basically full all the time. So the inserters that are exporting out aren't getting utilized much, unless these inserters here free up a spot. All right, we're still getting a lot of copper wire down here, but we're seeing a lot of green circuits as well, which is a good thing. I'm not seeing any more copper, though, which is a little bit... Okay, no, there's some copper. We've got some copper to spare. Very nice. Okay, one thing I was going to do is grab an arithmetic combinator, and I want to hook up the negative, our requests, to it, and I also want to hook up the count of items that we have. No, I don't. I don't want to do that. That's going to mess everything up 7 ways come Sunday. Let's make that a green. We want to hook up that green network. All right, and we want to take each signal coming in, add 0 to it, and output each signal. Send that out to a power pole. I hope I didn't mess anything up with that. I don't think I did. All right, so this gives us our count of all the items that we currently have out on the system. This number should be 0 if everything is fulfilled. So it's looking to me like it's hard to tell bottlenecks and things like that, especially when things are jumping around like they are. But it looks like green circuits are the ones that are behind right now. They're the big losers. And solid fuel and red circuits are all in excess of what we need. And I think I know why that is. That's another observation I made. This like solid fuel plant right here, it has 50 in a reserve, right? So let's say the number drops below 1. This guy has a stack size of 3, so he is going to output 3. You're going to see like little 3 groups of 3. Yeah. And they're all going to do that, right? So let's just watch the number here. Yeah, they're just, boom, they're all going to send out everything they need. It's not just one, they're going to send out all of them. So I think we could, this is a very minor optimization here, but I think if we just did the stack size to 1 on all of these, that would save a little bit of traffic. So now they're sending out 5 at a time instead of 15 at a time. And that should make it where that number comes down a little bit. Let's look at it now. Yeah, now we're down to 7, as opposed to, what was it, 20-something? It's a very minor optimization, I know. But wow, no, everything else is looking pretty fantastic right now, with the exception of the blue. Now, this isn't based off of anything other than what we currently have on the factory. That's what those numbers are. That's not to perfection. That's just based off of the requests that we've set. Those requests could still be wrong, but we're meeting our target at least within a reasonable margin of error, I would say. All right, 74% on the rocket. That is looking good. The real test is going to be, once all that science gets out onto the line, how that is going to affect things. Very curious to see how that works out. But no, traffic is actually looking pretty good right now. I'm really liking that. We'll see if it's actually enough. Oh yeah, we went from rush hour to Sunday afternoon. Not Sunday afternoon. Maybe It'd be like rush hour going home on a Friday as opposed to lunch on a Tuesday. Yeah, lunch on a Tuesday. That's what I would call that traffic. All right, well, thank you very, very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm liking this design. I'm liking where it's going. It's just going to be a matter of tweaking some numbers and getting a rocket launched and to see how that works finalized. And boy, there's just nothing on this line right now. Are you guys getting enough wire? I think you'll be fine. Here I am worrying about wire now. We did take a significant chunk out of it. All right, well, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.